Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm Andrew Cavanaugh, and I want to say thank you for coming back to Cavanaugh's Corner. Today on the show, it's going to be kind of interesting because I'm doing another collaboration here with Esley from Entertainment Fanatic Reviews, and it's going to be really interesting because he came to me a while ago with this idea, and he wanted to do a video about the top 5 upscaled 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays. What that means is the source of the film is not natively 4K. So when you watch it on this 4K disc, it's actually being upscaled. So it's getting a little bit of a bump when you watch it on a 4K disc. Some people say that's ridiculous. Oh, why couldn't they just make it native 4K? Again, you know, not all movies have a 4K intermediate. A lot of movies that have a ton of special effects, a lot of animated films, don't have a 4K digital intermediate. They're usually 2 or 2K or 3.4K or something like that. And thankfully, we have a bunch of movies for you today that I really like. And we both picked these out separately. I purposefully did not look to see what Esley picked before I did this. Now, the first one on the list, and that is actually one of the discs that's in this Daniel Craig 4K collection here, and it's actually Casino Royale, and that actually has a 2K digital intermediate, so kind of interesting. But all the rest of the films in the box set are 4K native intermediates, but the Casino Royale disc, for some reason, only went to 2K. And I have to say, ironically enough, it's one of the better looking movies in the set, in my opinion at least. I thought actually it looked better than Quantum of Solace, which is actually a 4K transfer. And it just goes to show that, you know, the movie itself and how well it's transferred sometimes means a lot more than the actual source. But I thought the movie looked beautiful. The colors are vivid. The picture quality throughout is fantastic. It's very sharp. It's very detailed. And I thought it was, you know, just an overall a better looking transfer than some of the other films in the set. But definitely better than Quantum of Solace. I'd have to say that for certain. The next one on the list, and by the way, I do have to stop for a second because I'm shooting this in the middle of a terrible thunderstorm right now. And if you're seeing lightning and stuff strike behind me, or if you hear thunder like that, it's because I'm filming this in the middle of a thunderstorm. I live in Florida, so sometimes we can't avoid these things. I start the camera rolling, and then Mother Nature gets very, very angry. So the next film on the list, ironically enough, is another spy movie. I picked 2 spy movies back to back. And this is actually Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. It's the 5th Mission Impossible film. This is a set that I got years ago. I actually picked this up before it came to 4K in the United States, ironically enough. So this is an imported disc, but this disc here for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation was incredible. I really loved the look of it. I actually completely forgot it was a 2K digital intermediate until recently, but this disc has got Dolby Vision. So the disc has got Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, and I tell you, you can't tell it apart from the other 4K native digital intermediates that are on the other discs. It looks incredible. The black levels on it were perfect. The picture quality throughout was just a huge upgrade from the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray is no slouch either. So really, really great disc there from Paramount, and honestly, it's one of those 4K discs that, like, I don't even think of it as a 2K digital intermediate because it looks that good. Another movie here, and it's funny because all of these movies are really technically action movies that I picked out. But again, these are all movies that have a ton of special effects in them. The next one is John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. And this one here is another one that I did not realize that it was an upscaled 2K digital intermediate. This movie looks and sounds amazing. This is another disc with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. The Dolby Atmos on this disc is absolutely incredible. It really is one of the best Atmos tracks on any disc that I own. It is amazing. And, you know, again, the picture quality on this, just like the rest of them, it's incredible. The colors on this really pop. The detail level is off the charts. And honestly, I don't even, you know, again, I don't even think of 2K when I watch this because it's so shockingly beautiful. The black levels on this disc are great. I mean, literally everything is phenomenal about this disc. Second to last one on my list here is actually one of my favorite 4Ks in my collection. And I actually did not realize this was a 2K digital intermediate upscaled to 4K on the disc. I did not know it because this movie looks so incredible. And that is The Equalizer with Denzel Washington. This is another one that does not have Dolby Vision. It's just HDR10, but it does have a Dolby Atmos soundtrack, and the Dolby Atmos on this is really good too. But the video quality on this, I mean, the image quality throughout is absolutely incredible. Again, I love the action scenes in this film. Denzel, again, just hits it out of the park. I love this movie. I've watched this movie quite a few times on this 4K disc here. It's a well-loved 4K disc. And the second one is too, even though the second movie isn't as good as this one, it's still a really good disc. But this one here, one of the best 2K digital intermediates I have ever seen. I was shocked to see it was 2K upscaled to 4K. Again, the colors in this are outstanding. It is a very dark film at times, dark in tone and in setting. Like, there's a lot of nighttime scenes in this movie, and the black levels on it are absolutely perfect. So again, a great upscaled 4K disc. But number one on the list, as I mentioned earlier, it's another one from Lionsgate. This is one that, again, I did not even realize it was a 2K digital intermediate until I looked into it. And shame on me, but the movie is Dredd. Carl Urban as Judge Dredd. This movie is got to be one of the most underrated films of all time, especially in terms of action films. I love this movie. Again, it's, you know, I understand, you know, it's kind of disposable in terms of action movies, but the visuals on this are absolutely incredible. This set here comes with the movie in 4K, and then the Blu-ray actually has the 2D and the 3D movie. This was one of those movies that really went all out on 3D when this was released. This was one of those 3D movies that really blew me away at the time, made me thinking, actually almost made me think 3D wasn't a gimmick. But this one here, the visuals on this are just shockingly beautiful. Again, it's just HDR10, but man, the Dolby Atmos track on this is killer. Just everything about it just absolutely blows me away. There are a lot of shots of slow motion in Dredd, and actually there's one scene in particular at the end of The Equalizer that's in slow motion, and the 4K imagery is just incredible. The HDR on this disc is ridiculous. The colors and everything. The characters in the movie use like a drug that like slows down time, and it's literally called slow-mo. And slow motion in this film, when they do use this like ultra slow-mo, the colors and everything are just absolutely mind-blowing. They are amazing. And this is probably, in my opinion, one of the best action 4K discs that I own. But man, in terms of visuals, you'd never know it was a 2K digital intermediate. It's that good. But that's really it for my picks here. Again, I hope you enjoyed the ones that I picked out. I suggest you go and get all of these that I list here. They are all movies that are worth buying, honestly. They're films that I enjoy. I know, again, I kind of went heavy on the action movie side, and in this case, these are films that all had that particular type of thing going on, and it didn't matter. The 4K discs look amazing, and here is what Esley has to say. Of course, if you like these, definitely hit subscribe and stay tuned to see what Esley has to say.
So I want to thank Andrew Cavanaugh from Cavanaugh's Corner for having me in this top 5 upscaled 4K discs video. So let's get into it. So I want to start off by saying welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're a fanatic of everything entertainment, I do a lot of movie reviews, ranking videos, list videos, 4K reviews, and a lot of other cool things you might find along the way. So in today's video, we'll be talking our top 5 upscaled 4K discs. So before I get into my list, I do want to state something which, upscaled 4K discs, in the 4K community has always been hit or miss for a lot of people, and some just tend to buy films shot on film. And I was the same way when I first started collecting 4K discs, but then I started to realize, I'm like, there's certain films that are upscales that I really want in my collection because one, I'm a really big fan of them, or I haven't owned the film since DVD. So some of my first purchases were upscales without knowing they were upscales, but another thing, none of these are in no particular order except for my number 1, so let's get into my list. Coming in at number 5, we have Hacksaw Ridge. There's a lot of detail on people's faces. There's a lot of wrinkles and scribbles that you haven't seen before. And then, the scenes during war, those are really intense, and they look great. And once they get to Okinawa, I think that's where they're at in the film, but once they get, to that, everything, all the colors pop, the explosions and everything and the gunfire, and some of the blood in here really pops out, so the HDR does come in handy with that. But I'm gonna be honest, I think this is a 2K upscale, but it doesn't look like that. It does look like true 4K. I don't know, like, it does look quite a bit better than the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray even then looked really good. So I don't know what they did to the actual 4K disc, but it looked a lot better than the Blu-ray. And like I said, there's a lot of detail that you haven't seen before, and the HDR really shows with this release. Coming in at number 4, we have War for the Planet of the Apes. And honestly, I could have put Dawn of the Planet of the Apes on here, and there's one reason why I didn't, because the CGI in this film looks quite a bit better than Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is hard to tackle because both of these films, or all 3 of these films, look really good. As the films went on, the CGI looked quite a bit better with each film. But I will say, I like the look of Dawn better than War, but that's because of all the greenery in Dawn. Like, everything just pops out at you with that release. But with this one, like I said, the reason why I have it on here is because the CGI is so detailed. It doesn't even look like a CGI, or none of these apes look CGI. They all look real, and the detail throughout the whole film looks really, really good. I think this is a 3.4K upscale or a 2K. I'm not entirely sure, but the CGI on Caesar and everyone else, all the other apes, just looks great. And they looked phenomenal in Dawn, so to look better than Dawn is one heck of a thing to accomplish. Coming in at number 3, we have The Revenant, which is a film that I've been a really big fan of ever since I saw it in theaters back in 2015 or 2016. And I think this is the film that got Leonardo DiCaprio his Oscar, that's just great. He highly deserves it. But the way that this film looks, I've always been a fan of this film, always been a fan of the way that it looks. I never owned it up until I bought the 4K disc. I didn't see it since I saw it in theaters, but this was a disc that people told me to check out when new to 4K, and when I finally watched this for the first time in years, it honestly blew me away, and I didn't know it was an upscale. I think this is another 3.4K upscale, so it looks phenomenal. And there's a scene at the beginning, like you can't miss it. There's a scene at the beginning where it shows the river, and it looks like I can put my hand through the water and pick up the rocks. And then, you know, the scenes which with the snow, which is pretty much, you know, 98-99% of this film, those scenes blew my breath away because of how beautiful it looked. And there's a scene in the middle of here where a character meets another character while, you know, he's on the verge of death, and there's like a really trippy scene with that, just which also blew me away with the visuals as well. So I am a really big fan of this movie and a really big fan of this disc, and is one that you don't need to miss out on, even though it is an upscale. Coming in at number 2 is a film that inspired me to do this list, that being Spider-Man: No Way Home. This is one of my favorite Spider-Man films of all time. It's either my number 2 or number 3. It goes back and forth, you know, all the time, but this film is really good. And I was sort of nervous, you know, going into this release, because there was reports saying it was going to be true 4K, and then there was other reports saying it was a 2K upscale, which I was like, well, damn. But either way, you know, I have to own new releases on the best format possible. So of course I bought it and picked it up on 4K, and when I watched it again for the first time since I saw it in theaters, you know, 4 months prior, I was blown away again. The HDR with this release really does shine through, and Spider-Man, or at least Tom Holland's Spider-Man, during the daytime scenes, his suit really pops out at you. Those reds and blues are phenomenal. In the HDR with this release, you know, when it comes to people's faces, you know, you can see it quite a bit more detailed than you did on the Blu-ray, but it also has more lifelike colors on people's skin. I do have a complaint with this one, but that has to do with the CGI, because, you know, I think they started shooting this in early 2021 and had to release it by December, so, you know, some of it does look rushed, some of it doesn't look the best, but I do think it does translate well with the 4K format. Like, there's certain scenes with, like, Green Goblin or Doc Ock that look really good on this 4K disc. But another thing that is awesome is having all 3 Spider-Man in the best quality possible, so of course you have to pick up this 4K disc. So coming in at my number 1, I don't know if this is a controversial take or not, but I have Ready Player One. I will say, I owned this movie on Blu-ray like 4 years ago, and it blew me away. And then I bought this 4K disc like 7-8 months ago, and I was blown away once again. Most of this film is CGI, so you would hope that the CGI translate well to 4K, you know, and I think that it does. It is like a 2K upscale. Some scenes I think are shot on higher resolution, but either way, this is an upscaled 4K disc, so everything just pops out at you. And even some of the scenes that, you know, aren't CGI, that, you know, take place on the mainland or just take place in real life, some of those look so lifelike I could reach my hand through the screen and touch it. Like I said, my main point with my number 1 is that you would hope that all the CGI translate well to 4K, and it does. That is like the highlight to this 4K disc, is all the CGI used in here, and none of it looks bad. It looks great, which, you know, is something you've come to expect when this film was directed by Steven Spielberg. You know, of course he's always going to bring his A game, and he does the same with this release and this film, so it just looks great on 4K, and it's a great film. It's one of my favorite Steven Spielberg films of all time, and I think you need to own it on 4K, regardless if it's an upscale or not. So I want to thank Andrew Cavanaugh for letting me take part in this top 5 upscaled 4K discs video. It was really great having met you. That was a highlight to, you know, my vacation last month. That was really great, really fun. We went to this place called Sound Exchange. I picked up Red Heat on 4K. We'll be doing a review on it sometime soon. I'm the worst when it comes to releasing videos, but look out for that if you guys want to. So with that said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.